Hello, everybody. Hello. Hi, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you are all over the world. You are absolutely welcome. Welcome to Wise Words on Parenting. Can you believe this is episode 4 already? Wow. For those who have joined, thank you. Thank you already for being here. Thank you. Hi, Ronke. Hello. Nice to see you. Okay, so this episode is going to be super exciting. I have somebody I absolutely love. She is so sweet. I think I've met her now over maybe just a little over a year, and just watching her, I really admire her. Thank you, everyone who has tuned in already. Very excited. For those of you on YouTube, yay, I see you, Aya. I see you, Ronke. Thanks, guys. Please invite your friends. Tell them we're here. And it's going to be a fantastic time. I'm so relaxed up for this episode. I just feel like there's so much to learn from this amazing, beautiful woman. You'll see her in a second. Anyway, so what I want you to do is invite your friends, tell them to subscribe on our YouTube channel. It's Bolanle Enang on YouTube. And then they get notifications of all the videos and all the live streams and all the resources that we put on from time to time. All right, without much ado, it's already 2 minutes into today's episode. Ladies and gentlemen, yay! Are you excited? I am very. Please welcome to the stage Dr. Tinuke, Judith-Tinuke Ojo-Aromokudun. I absolutely love this woman. You'll see why I love her in a second. Hi, Auntie. How are you?
Hi, everyone. It's quite exciting being here. My first time, so.
Auntie, don't worry. You're such a sweetheart and a natural that I know that you will have a great time. Please, guys, let's know if you can hear Dr. Tinu. Let me know if you can hear and if you can also hear me. Hi, everyone who's joined. Please call your friends and family, and we are going to dive right into it today, So, Auntie, say something. Let's hear if everything is loud and clear. How are you feeling today?
As usual.
Thank you. Thank you, Auntie. Yeah, smiles.
Being here with you.
Thank you. You know something I learned about smiles? There was a time in my life I stopped smiling. I went through a difficult time. I think it was close to a sort of depression, and I noticed that I'd stopped smiling. And one of the ways I got out of it was the Lord helping me, and also I'll stand by my mirror and smile.
Yeah.
And just smile. And I started learning how to smile again. So I try to do it as often as possible. Yeah. Thank you.
The Bible says lives away 1,000 rosts.
You're right. Awesome. Okay. So they said they can hear you very well. You're an architect, you're a mom, you're a professional, you do some sort of business. I absolutely admire you, Auntie. I really do. So for those who do not know you, and I like to do this often, I want you to introduce yourself. Tell us who you are. Just tell us a bit about who you are, and go for it.
Hi. I'm Tinuke Ojo-Aromokudun. I'm a mom to 3 lovely children, a wife to a wonderful husband. I'm a teacher. I think my calling is actually in teaching, and God has given me the opportunity to teach not only in the church, but also to teach in the university. And it's so exciting equipping the next generation for all that's ahead of them. What else can I say? I'm me. I'm a sister, I'm a daughter, I'm a friend. So I'm just me.
Right. Okay. So I'm going to put you now more on the spot because I know your answer. So tell us, you've got a PhD, right?
Yeah.
In what?
Oh, my PhD is in architecture. I work in the built environment. I did my architecture study in Nigeria. I started in Nigeria at the University of Ife, now Obafemi Awolowo University. Great Ife,
Great
yes.
fair. That's my university, guys. Great
You know,
fair.
yeah. And then I came down to South Africa in '97, and I joined the University of KwaZulu-Natal. I did another master's program in housing, and then I went on to do my PhD in architecture. So my PhD is in architecture. I'm a built environment professional.
Wow,
And my
that is really
interest is more actually in informal settlements. And I'm finding it so apt to actually looking at family life and how people live their homes, so it's all coming together slowly.
wow. I love that. I love that very much. Okay. So,
Yeah.
um, the first question I like to ask all the guests is, how are you feeling in this season of your life as a parent?
As a parent, it's wonderful. It's different. Children are leaving home now. I've got some young adults, so it's a new experience. You're now having to relate on another level. So it's quite good, I would say.
Really? Okay,
Yeah.
so everybody tells us about these different phases, right, of parenting. And I know you and I love your kids. Like, they're not kids. Like, we even call them uncle. Uncle Albert, Uncle Josh, and your daughter. Really lovely. I think it was part of most, I'm sure it's one of the reasons why I was drawn to you. Just meeting you and your husband, and you were really just very nice, simple, down to earth. Do you remember the conversation we had on Valentine's Day? That I'm going to bring it up in this episode. I didn't tell you, but I will. I remember me just not feeling the whole vibe of wanting to do any
Yeah,
Valentine.
like at the car park, eh?
Mhm, at the car
Okay.
park, and you're like, "What's wrong with you? You must do something." I'm like, I was almost going to say, "Babe," but I'm like, "No, man. She's like 10 years older or more. Bola, are you serious? She can't do that." I'm not doing, but so we're going to talk about family life because I feel like there's even on that day there was so much I learned just listening to you talking about being intentional about my marriage and about romance in my marriage. I'm like, okay, this woman's got children who are working. One is out of this country on her own, studying in another country, and her boys are big and lovely. Until your sons are lovely, and I really want to know what you did to them. Honestly, that's why we're here. Okay, so guys, I have a little bit of like experience with her, but I want you to already start throwing your questions already. Okay. So I'm gonna start with the set questions. Okay. So just as a person, as a woman, because for me, a few people will come in tonight and some are married, some are not, and then men here. Incidentally, my brother, who is an architect, is on the call tonight. So I think it's a built environment evening. Okay. But I know that there are people who are married, unmarried, engaged, single parents, widows, divorcees, all of that. And I always feel like there's a lot for all of us to learn because for me, I'm a family life enthusiast, and my work is to just look around and find resources with relationships, books, all sorts of things to find out how can I do my family life, how can I make it better. So for you, Ma, as a professional, because you're still very active in your work, as a lecturer in the university, even though you've moved cities. But how are you feeling just as a woman in this season of your life?
Yeah, I think it's really a blessing to be called a woman at this time because the dynamics of the field is just so different, and there are many expectations I think women themselves put on themselves. You know, we tend to carry on probably taking on responsibilities that are not actually ours. And in so doing, we just get so busy, and we forget our primary assignment, which I think is actually the family. And so something I've always tried to do is to keep family first. That's for me, that's my primary assignment. That's my first calling. And then other things can fall into place. And very likely, if we sow well into the family will actually launch us out. And we will have more opportunity to do more out there than abandoning home and then trying to take on things that, would happen eventually if we give it a chance. So I think in that way, it's good to know what our calling is as women and what our calling is even within the family.
Right. Okay. That's very interesting. You made a point now. You said if we keep family first, and I'm sure this applies both to men and to women, if we keep family first, there's a likelihood that family itself will then launch you out into what you would like to become or who would you like to be. That's very powerful. I'm going to pack that thought for a moment. Okay, you want to say something about that? Yeah, go for it, Auntie.
Yeah, I do think so. Although I do understand there are lots of dysfunctional families, but the cycle of some of these things we would have to break, so that eventually things come right. It's a sacrifice. I think there's a lot of sacrifice in family, and if we are to model our families after Christ and the church, you see it's all sacrificial love when you look at Christ and the church. So it's not easy, but it's the rewards are sweet.
I'm sure this applies both to men and to women in terms of the different things that we do to sacrifice for our family. Okay, let me go to. I'm coming right back to that point, and it feels interesting. So let's go to some fun facts. How did you feel being a first-time mom? How was that for you?
Oh, it was lovely. It was so nice. It was such an honor. It was a blessing, to feel like, wow, now I've got a bundle of joy. I'm to love, I'm to care for. But it was also, I would say it was also, is it intimidating? Because, after the whole process of having this baby, and it was actually born in England in winter, it was so cold. And, the first night I got home, I slept. I actually slept. And I was with my sister-in-law, and she came and she says, you know what, now you're a mom, you only sleep with one eye, you don't sleep with two eyes. And I wept. I was like, oh my God, will I cope? Can I do this? But I've always remembered those words, as a mom, somehow you sleep with one eye open. And yeah, I was lucky someone told me, and I heard. Some are never told, and they don't know why things are going wrong and what. So yeah, you it's an honor, and it's also it's a huge task, I think, being a mother.
That's interesting. Sorry, say that again, Nancy.
The first time mother, it's like whoa,
Somebody saying hello from Epangeni. I know that is one of your.
Oh, that's my home.
And people are already like sending you hello, welcome, and giving you a clap and all of that. So yeah, just to let you know that people are quite excited to be here. I'm very excited to have you. Thanks, guys. Okay, so Auntie, you said that you heard. What did you hear when the person said, when the person said to you, you now sleep with one eye open, what did you hear? What is it that you
I heard
actually
that he
heard?
could actually get it wrong. I heard, in fact, I wept because the baby had been crying right there beside me. And she came, this is my sister-in-law, my big sister-in-law, and she came all the way from her room. She was also expecting, and she picked up my baby from beside me and was petting him, and I was sleeping. So, and she told me,
You were tired, please. You were tired.
I was tired. I was tired. I was cold. I was, overwhelmed. And she says, "No, my dear, from now on, you sleep with one eye." I was like, okay. So I took him and I put him on the breast and everything settled. And I was like, God, am I going to fail? What am I doing wrong? All those beating up. So I heard what she said. And I think I was lucky. She was there to tell me, and yeah, from then on, I got the message. It's a full-time
Really?
job.
I think you really got it, Auntie, because some of my conversations with you, which is part of why I'm here, sharing you with the world, is some of the things that you've said to me as about, what it really means to be a parent or a mom. And I heard you, and I'm thinking, oh my gosh, Lord help me. I've been at this for only 8 years, and yeah, there's so much more to still learn. Okay, awesome. So, what was the difference between your first time having your first child and your last child? Was there anything different?
Yeah, I think um, I think there was a difference. A first child or having a first child is always overwhelming. You're prepared. I read so many books. I knew my water would break, even though when it broke, I didn't know it had broken. So 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 you try to prepare, but you never prepared. And then by the time the third child came, I had people to assist me. I had a little boy to come and tell me, oh, she's hungry, or baby sister wants this, or pass me the bottle. With the first child, you kind of learning as you go along. And I really thank God for all of them. They're such lovely children, a blessing to me and my husband.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay, guys, I'm just going on and on with my own things. Please ask questions. Let's know what you think. And share. Tell people we're live on Facebook, we're live on YouTube, and just ask your questions. She is really smart. So just start throwing in your questions. Don't even wait for my questions, guys. She's a really smart woman, I promise you. Okay. So, Dr. Tina, what did you base your parenting on? What were your principles? So I'm asking like your practical principles. What did you base your parenting on?
I'm not sure if I had, like a list of, oh, do this, do this, do this. But I knew that the role was to guide the children, and I knew also that um, I'm actually, they've been entrusted to me and my husband to guide them, and in that process of guiding, you really cannot do it on your own. So it's really to ask the owner of the children what you need to do. Because the Bible tells us that children are a gift from the Lord. So they are gifts and they are just put in our care for a period of time. And that period of time, he is the one that would actually tell us and help us on what to do with them or for them, and actually what not to do. Because sometimes you need not to do so that, you know, it's like the story of the eagle and how she pushes the kid out of the nest at the chick out of the nest at a certain time. We need to be
Mm,
able to know when to do that and when to make the nest. I think one of your guests spoke about that, how to make the nest a bit uncomfortable I think it's a very, very strong principle that we should know the right time, but also seek guidance on when to do what and when to give space and when to actually be in their face, like, guys, I'm watching you, and when to, pull back.
Pull
I
back.
think we need to allow that.
Wow, that's interesting. Okay. So, was it daunting to pull back?
I mean, even from little, not just into adulthood, even from little toddlers, there's sometimes
Okay.
you need to allow, you know. So a child wants to help you bake, for instance. It's like, please don't. But
Yes. Leave it.
it's like, leave it, don't. But sometimes you need to allow so that there can be a process of learning, and there can be a process of even appreciating when you do it better. So it's, I think, not just as adults, but even as little ones, there should be space. You should give them a bit of space to, yeah, to do a few things. And of course, you watch it like a hawk, but you're giving a bit of
Space.
leeway. Yeah, I think it's quite important.
Right.
Even
Okay,
in
so
this
there's a
time, yeah, even in these times when we know there are all sorts of things out there, at a stage we need to be able to, because they will be out there, and when you're not there, what are they going to do? So somehow we need to be able to allow, let the shirt get dirty, let it get lost. He will go to school without one, then he will come back, he won't get it lost again. So I
I
think
hear
there
you.
is need for some of, I think in old school it was called tough love. There is need for that from time to time.
To
Yeah.
let them allow them to make the mistakes. Don't hover over them like a helicopter, right? Is that what you're saying? Allow them
Not
a bit.
necessarily mistakes. You don't want to break a leg and then you say, hey, now you've broken the leg, No, you know. Um, but don't like, I give an example. Don't forget your jacket. Don't forget your jacket. And you've said it so many times, and then now we're going and you can see the jacket has been forgotten. You just carry it along. Then at the time when he's like, oh, I'm feeling cold, where's my jacket? Yeah, you forgot your jacket. Okay, here is your jacket. So there is space for learning, there is space for growing. And it's in doing some of these things that we do learn and we do grow.
Right. Oh, Auntie, your questions are already flying in. Lots.
Oh
So we need
God.
to. So this is your fellow architect. So he says a PhD in architecture is great, but also quite tasking, as I understand he's one. As a mother and a professional, how are you able to cope with these three things at the same time?
Well, I think I have to go back a bit. Like I said.
Auntie, can I interrupt you 1 second? Because the second question looks very similar. Because Pumla is asking you, yes, how? And then she's also saying, how did you manage studying, working, and parenting? Which goes to Aya's question. All right. So let's shoot. Let's go.
All right. Now, I must say, some of these things, they unfold. They say, how does it go? Um, you lay your bed, or how to say,
As you lay
your
your bed, so you lie on it.
as you lay your bed, that's how you lie on it. So I started out the family quite early, and I have a photograph I took of my children at age 30. And from that time, I knew I was done. The family was complete. I didn't want any more children. So I did something about that. I made it happen that I wouldn't have more kids. And then I was able to nurture them. I thank God for the opportunity and the wherewithal to be able to nurture the children. So I was at home for 5 years with the children. I wasn't working, and my husband was basically running the show. So I think it was a privileged position. Now, I saw it as a privileged position, but some would see it as an undermining position. But if there is a bigger picture, there's a time of sowing, there's a time of harvesting, and there's a time of reaping. So if we are able to know what season of our life we're in, you make the best of it, you enjoy it. When you're in school, be in school, study, get out of it, get it done. This is my principle. When you're having children, have children, get it done, get out of it. When you're nurturing. I washed nappies for 5 years consecutive. By the way, we used to wash nappies. I know we don't wash nappies these days. We do,
Pampers
disposable.
and diapers.
Drop,
Yes, I see that. Yeah.
pull downs or pull ups. Yeah, we had to
Hello.
wash nappies. Yeah. So we washed nappies, and I wouldn't say it was all hunky dory and a nice, like, yay, I'm washing nappies. Like, hey. No, but it was a season. And I think prayerfully, with endurance, encouragement, you do get out of that season. So by the time the children were going off to high school, they get to a stage when they tell you almost like, Mom, why are you here? And so I'd sown into that stage of their lives, and I was able to pull out and carry on with my life. I started early. I think I had my first child. I was probably 25, 26. So by the time I was 30, the family was complete. And so from then on, I was able to build up. I think I was lucky, I was blessed, but I was also able to see the opportunities that I had in that. And now, because I think I sowed into their lives at that time, I am more confident to leave them or to give them that leeway, because the principles are there. The time of sowing has been done. The relationships have been built. I mean, we have songs, we play a song, we know the song, it brings back memories, so those things are there. And so once I had done that, I was able to free up myself to carry on with my career and even my PhD. And now it's actually quite beautiful. I have no regrets. Now, then it was like, oh, I have a master's. Why am I at home? Is this what life is about? But then if we're able to calm down, you eventually see the bigger picture in some of these things.
Wow. So guys, please keep the comments coming and the questions coming, because I have lots of questions on this one to ask you. And that's because in this season of my life, I didn't have the opportunity. In fact, at 25, I wasn't married. I was I was still in university because I was in Ife at the time when there were strikes. I would go on for
Oh,
a whole
yeah.
year, that kind of thing. So I only finished university at 26, guys. Yeah, I said it. So yeah, and then served, only got married at 29, had infertility issues, only had my first child at 32, second one at 34, 35, and in the midst of all of this, moved countries. And I know you also moved countries, right? And because I also want to ask about that, I feel like what I'm hearing you say, and please correct me, is because you started early, it was easy for you to sort of be very intentional and then almost stop your life in quote,
Yeah.
be intentional, and then afterwards you had created all the, like, your systems, memories, you had put in all you sowed into their lives, and then now it's just it was easy for you to leave them and carry on with life. Is that what you're saying, Auntie? Is that what you're saying?
I think it was a privileged position, like I said. Not everybody has that kind of privilege. And, finishing at Ife with all the strikes and all those things, there's so many distractions that come along the way. And so it becomes more of, is it time and chance? But I think in every situation, because as my first child, when he was born, my classmates were so excited, like, hey, it's okay, our little baby. And then by the
You were
time
still in school.
No, I'd finished school, but we were still in touch with each other.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and by the time the third born was here, one even came to visit me, and here I was, still not really doing anything with my, I'm wrong to say, but it felt like not doing anything with my life, but it was a time of sowing, looking back. And I think one really needs to pray for grace to go through such periods. It's not easy. I know many who are going through it. I mean, I interact with many young ladies, and it's not an easy time, but it's a time of sowing, and the time of reaping will surely come.
This is powerful. So, for those of us who are currently almost like home executives, you're saying that there's that pressure, right? To almost feel like, oh my gosh, everybody probably thinks that I don't have a life. I'm not doing anything with my life. And here I am, all my friends are high flyers, right? And that pressure comes a lot. You know that, man. That pressure is massive. But what you are saying is that it's a time of sowing. Okay, you seem to have answered Ayo's question. He says, thank you for that answer. Biola is also saying that you give a bit of space to do a few things. That's, I think she was talking about what you were saying initially about allowing children. And I think she's saying, a time of sowing and a time of reaping. That's right, guys. Okay, you seem to be answering some of the questions. Okay, now, Auntie, let's zone in to people who are working and who have to work, who don't have that privilege of being, I mean, there are a few things you can say about that, and I'm glad we're talking about this. What do you say? Because I know a few times you've spoken to me about me, and my, yes. What's the advice?
There are some things I think us as women and younger women, there's some ideas we have, but somehow we probably are not intentional in following them through, right? And so we say one thing, but the reality is actually something else. And it's something else to us, and even more so to those around us. So I've got two boys, and then the she's a little girl, she'll be 21. She came along.
That's not little.
Yeah. And by the time the boys were with me, I knew I was already getting to a point where I wanted to get on with my career. But I looked at the family and I realized that in another 10, 20 years' time, do I want just two boys hovering around me and probably they'll be tall and bring the mom was for lunch kind of thing? Or would I want a bigger team? And I knew I wanted a bigger team, right? I knew that. And so Fikayo, the little girl, came along. I didn't even want to know if it was a girl or a boy. It's like, you know what, Lord, whatever you give me, that's fine. If it's a girl, good for me. If it's a boy, good for me also, And when she came along and she was a girl, wow, I really felt like God loved me even more, that I had my baby girl. And thereafter, I knew I was done. I have known people who knew they were done, but did nothing about it. And then the next child came along. And then the next child came along. And now they're in a situation where I have to work, or where I would love to work, but I can't work, or I have to work, And so somehow, because we're not intentional about some things happen, and it's not that I have to get to work. We now get into a stressful situation because we have to do things, right? It's not nice not having money in your pocket, but it's not the end of the world, if I can put it like that, especially if we're privileged to be in a family kind of situation, and the necessities are being sorted out. So, I mean, for long, even up till now, I don't even have a Woolworths card. And sometimes I tell people that, like, auntie, why now? I said, what do I need it for? So sometimes our priorities need to be right, and we'll see.
Right.
Because even going out to work, sometimes you may be spending more than you're actually bringing in. Because you're paying this, you're paying that, the child is sick, the this is that, child is having separation anxieties, you're now confused, you're not fulfilled at work, you're not fulfilled at home, and then you think everything is falling apart. You know, so sometimes we need to understand times and season, the season of your life we're in, and then when you are sowing, when you're reaping, when I have to work, and then do I actually have the support? Is it making financial, emotional, spiritual sense? You know, and then you get on with things. If it's not, then take time to actually take stock of what is happening in one's life and understand that it may just be for a season. And when that season is gone, that season is gone. You know?
Wow, this is really good. Guys, this is really, really good. Really, really good. So good. So Oyinka was saying, I think she's tuning in from America, had the experience of feeling like everyone else is better. We all have different paths, and I had to learn that. So I guess she's probably talking about not Oyinka, please expatiate, maybe being at home and thinking that everybody else is doing better than she was. So I think this speaks a lot to home executives and even to people who are working to realize that I'm hearing you say, Bonnie, there are seasons, and those seasons come and they go, and that I should be intentional, because what you're saying is so true. You think you're done, but you don't do anything about it. And then another child comes, and another child comes. And whose fault is that? Right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I
But you
hear
know,
you.
being in a season actually means there is a vision.
Mm.
If you have no vision, you're not going to know where, or you're just there. But if there is a vision, you would know that, okay, in the scheme of things, you know, and so when the farmer plants and the seeds are in the ground, he doesn't go to sleep. He starts preparing for when it's going to be harvest time. So when you're at home and the children are there, oh, mom, clean my bum, mom, my nose, oh, this, that, and you're doing all those things, you know, which in some cases you feel like you are a maid, or you are not, your value is not being appreciated. It's probably a time for you to start preparing for the next season, which means you should have a vision. And how do you prepare for that next season? So the kids will not be babies forever. They will grow up. How are you equipping yourself towards that next season? How are you staying in touch with what is going on, so that when the opportunity comes, you say, yes, I'm available, I can, and you start stepping in. So it's not only about feeling sorry for ourselves, which very easily happens. I mean, I went through that, felt so sad, so sorry for myself, like, now wow, is this life? You know? But eventually you get to understand that it is a season, and each of us are different. We're going through different seasons of our lives.
Right. I feel like somebody is corroborating what you're saying. Sometimes you feel like you are their servant, but you are
Ah,
saying that it's a season. But stay
hmm.
in touch and stay relevant, because that
Yeah,
season will pass. And when it
yeah,
passes, then what happens to you? This
yeah.
is so
I can
good.
give an example. So when the children were home, and I couldn't go out I had to be there. I mean, we couldn't have anybody else coming to look after them. I took on an accounting course. I registered for ACCA. I did my first part, and I just felt one day I'm going to have a business. So let me equip myself with accounting, bookkeeping, and things. And it was something that was done by correspondence. So that's what I mean by keeping yourself abreast, keeping yourself relevant, what is going on. I mean, this season of COVID, many of us are on lockdown, some are still on strict lockdown. We can still equip ourselves. We can still start finding out, listen to the news. Your home executive doesn't mean you shouldn't be absent or block off from what the president is saying. Think global, act local. So those
Wow.
things, we need to be abreast. We may look like home executives, but we are, current affairs manager.
I love that. I love that. Think global, act local. I like that. There's a question from Aya. We're going to take it now. But Pumla says she loves this. Being done is being done. And it's a conversation with the Lord. Yes, she doesn't have Woolworths cat good vibes. I like that. Exactly. Hey, Roger says, think global, act local. So good. Okay, let's go to Aya's question. He has another question for you. He says, did your career influence your guidance of your children's career choices? If not, how did you go about such guidance? And that's actually a fantastic question for you because they're doing very interesting courses, aren't they? All right.
Yes, they're actually doing quite interesting courses. And I think looking back, I would say career choice is actually about looking forward. So we'll be preparing ourselves or our children for the future. And unfortunately, we're so entrenched in our presence that they probably have a better view of the future. So for instance, during the career guidance stage, I spoke to one of the teachers and he said, you know what, once the course they're doing is math, science, and technology, it's fine. Don't worry about it, it's fine. And I felt, okay, if that is it, anything that has math, science, and technology, that's fine. And I think that was from a career guidance counselor who was trained to look forward. Now, my career, at the time I was going through career guidance, it was more about preparing me for the present. And that preparation for this present is different from what the next generation need for their own my own age in their own future. So I wouldn't say none of my children are doing architecture, by the way, even though both my husband and myself were architects. None of them are doing architecture. None of them are in the built environment field. And I'm not sorry about that. I don't regret that. I don't feel dissed about that in any way because they are prepared for their own future challenges. At a point, I'm getting to that point now, I can't even offer them ideas. One is doing natural science. I'm like, you know what, I don't know. I know Excel spreadsheets and then all these curves you're talking about and this raised data. I don't really know, So they actually leave us behind, which is what we want. We want our children to be better than us, and then we can only guide them in terms of principles, godly principles. And I think I'm not one to say you must do this or no. But I was one to say you must do math, science, or technology. So the broad.
So you still brought it in somehow, but I hear you.
Yeah, it needs to be within a field, and I think it goes back to giving a bit of space. So within that field, a bit of space. So one is doing business. He wanted to do something in business, and I'll say, you know what? Once they put science there, I'm happy. So he did business science, which was good.
So you sort of still guided them, but it wasn't like you must do.
Not
I love
prescriptively.
this.
No,
Mm.
no.
Which is very interesting because you and your husband are both architects. and he practices, and you teach in the university in
Yeah.
the space and the built environment. So it's very interesting that none of them picked after you and there was no compulsion. Okay, so I've got another question for you, and now this is from me. Practically, and to give me like your top three tips,
Mm.
top three
For
practical
parenting.
tips for parenting.
Mm. For parenting, okay, let me start from childhood. When your child is little, please don't be afraid to spank them.
Okay.
So spanking in terms of nudging, 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 nudging. By the time they're 11, please throw away the spanking stick. Forget about it. It's not going to work. So we want them to now go into more negotiating, discussion from the age of 11. It's probably gone even younger now because children these days, they are quite developed. But I think there needs to be parents and there needs to be children. And sometimes we need to set boundaries. I know that, and we mustn't spank in anger. Please don't abuse your children. I'm not saying abuse. Please don't abuse children, but you need to correct in love. The Bible encourages us to correct in love, and we need to speak to them in a language they understand. So with a lot of wisdom and guidance, I think we should be there right up. Principle is that by the age of 11, they already know what they're going to do. Whatever you're saying, forget about. You just need to negotiate at that age. Second principle, I think you need to pray a lot for the children, and pray with the guidance of the Holy Spirit. But the prayer is actually more effective if we have a relationship with the kids. So they can have space to come to you, and they feel free to come to you. The world is such a bad place. Home needs to be a safe place for the children to run back to. So that relationship becomes very important. Even when you are too busy, your your phone should pick, for the kids. And if you cannot pick on demand, let them know. Please don't call me between this time and this time. I won't be available, but send a message. I will respond. So don't make it like it's difficult for your children to talk to you, even when they're far away. They need to be able to always engage with you. Yeah. And I think, again, home needs to be home. Home needs to be a place where your children feel they are at home. And so I strongly believe that it is the mother's responsibility to cushion the home. And you cushion the home in different ways,
How?
Could
How,
be
Auntie? How?
could be having a nice tub of ice cream in the freezer if that's what they like. It could be, you need to make home home. Let the children be happy to be at home. Home does not mean there are no chores. There are chores, there are responsibilities, and we all work together and we all enjoy the home together. So by prayer, I mean, prayerfully, you can make your home a home, no matter how little it is. The children need to understand home is home. And I think one of the nice ways of making a home is by having nicely cooked food. Yeah.
Yeah, got that.
Nice warm
Nicely.
food is always, even if it's hot dogs, you pop into the microwave and hey, once I get home, those hot dogs, mommy's hot dogs, you know. So I think it's quite important, and we should take care of making our home a home. Yeah.
Wow. And so that is so beautiful. I've got two big questions here. So let's take, so I wonder which one would you like to take first? Let's take this one first and then we'll take the other one. It says, how do you transition your relationship as your kids get older? I feel like you've touched on it, but just briefly touch on it because there's another big one down there. Okay.
To get older from being into becoming adults.
Maybe teenagers and then,
Teenagers, yeah. I
adults
think
and.
they need to be able to relate to you. I remember my second son, he played basketball, and when we go to the basketball courts, we used to, me and the other moms, we were like, yay, we're screaming and we said, rebound, rebound. And one day he said, Mom, do you really have to do that? You don't have to come. And I was like, but that's why we are there now. We are healing you. He said, no, you don't really have to do that. He was practically telling me not to come and cheer him on, and I felt bad. So I said, no, don't worry. You wouldn't even know I'm there. I wear a wig, sunshades. You wouldn't know. So I think just allowing them to engage with you. Teenagers would close their doors. I think find ways of getting in behind those doors and engaging with them. Find chores. I mean, we had the chores of washing up dishes after dinner, and it was a nice time of connecting and listen to the music they're listening to, hear what they're hearing, not to criticize them, but to guide them,
Wow.
because some of the kids, they're listening to things, it's like, really? Did you hear what he's saying? I was like, no, just following the beats. But the guy is cussing you now. How can you be dancing to that? So it's to say, and then it's like, that's true, but engage and try and relate, try and meet them there. Jesus Christ did that. He
Engage.
met people where they are and he peeled them up from there. Yeah.
And so you're really cool. Honestly, like, I love you. Right? Anyway, so Grand Writer says, say it loud so they can hear it at the back. Good food. Okay,
Good
we
food,
hear.
yes, good food,
Good.
very important. If you can't cook, find somebody to teach you.
I hear you. I
Very
hear you.
important.
Okay. I hear you on that actually. Okay, so and this speaks to, do you have any regrets? Are there things in hindsight? Are there things you would have done differently if you could turn back the clock?
If I could turn back the clock, what would I have done differently? I'm not sure, I'm
Really?
actually not sure what I would have done differently. I'm not. I don't. I can't think of anything that I would have done differently.
Wow.
I really can't think of anything. Maybe before we finish, I'll think of something, but I can't think of anything now.
So do you have any regrets? Do you have any regrets? Anything? Well, that's a question. No, you can't think of anything. You don't have to. I'm just, I'm very enthralled that I love this because I'm one that regrets everything. Like, oh my gosh, babes, I could have done that. I should have done this. I could have. That is interesting.
Like, I have mates who are well established, lots of, but I I think everybody has their own journey. And in your own journey, are you fulfilling your own purpose? And if you're fulfilling your own purpose, you cannot beat yourself up, for fulfilling your own purpose. And if that be the case, then I got to a stage, I will tell you, and I said a prayer like this, that God, are you really happy seeing me like this? This was when the kids were little. That does it really make you happy? I didn't get an answer. And I felt, okay, if it makes you happy, let it continue. But if it's not making you happy, please, Lord, change it. And I think then I realized it was a season.
Right.
It was a season. I mean, we moved we moved into Empangeni at a time when opportunities were not so rife there, and one would have felt, oh, you rather move to a big city and you rather do but it was a season, and I thank God for that season. And I also thank God for the grace to come out of that season. And now I'm in a new season. Now I'm actually just trying to find myself in this new season that I am. But you're never lost when you're with Christ. He'll continue to guide you. And somehow that peace would come. Before I met you, Bolande, it was like, oh, okay. And then here comes this young lady. Oh, I see. I'm like, okay, all right. So there are people out here also. I love my Mpangeni family. I love, just being there, and was really a bit difficult living, but I felt, well, God, I'm going into a new season and I'm going to trust you, So I think we worry when we're trying to solve things all on our own. But when we're able to prayerfully go through each season, it makes it easier. It does make it easier. I mean, even finding it was a journey, but God has a way of guiding his own, and it's for us to remain faithful to that, his own.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so that is powerful. Do you know this is probably what I'm taking out of this, that I should be intentional, and then I should be easy on myself and allow the Lord to lead me. Because many times when I ask this question, people do have regret. You actually struggle to find a regret. That is powerful. Okay, so actually we're coming to the end of tonight's episode, and I think this was really good, guys. Right? Please send in, let her know. What it's our first time. I just said, "Bolale, really?" I'm like, "You are so cool. Everybody will love you. Like, I love you. So." Thank you. Auntie, give me your 25-year-old self. Now you are, I don't want to reveal your age because you didn't say. But she's such, yeah, I like her, she's cool. Your 25-year-old, 35-year-old self, what would you tell that girl, that young woman? 25, 35, 35. What would you tell her?
I think my 25-year-old self, I would say, have a vision for what you want out of life, and prayerfully follow that vision through. 35-year-old self, I think, also take stock, see where you are, because once you hit 35, you're leaving the youth zone, you're moving into, I don't know what we call this zone.
I'm old.
Some will say, mama. I say, yeah, I'm a mama, embrace it, love it. Yeah, so by the time you're getting there, enjoy every moment of every stage we're at. When you're in school, please focus on school, do school, get your good grades, get out of school, but enjoy school also, because there's some things you'll do as a student. If you do as a working person, it's like, why? But students need, So I think understand every stage you are at, and study the word so that you don't get off course, because it's so easy to get off course. And then have a vision. These days we hear more about have a mentor, see who you can learn from. We didn't understand that. I'm only understanding it now. Your mentor at my stage, at my level, your mentor could even be younger than you, depending on what area of life you're wanting to model. So don't write, be thankful, I think. Be thankful for every stage you're at. Be thankful for what you're going through. It would surely pass. The Bible tells us that. And when you look back, what do you want to say about it? I think that would be important. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Dr. I know how we talk about your name. Thank you so much, Dr. Judith. I didn't want to bring up your nationality because I was arguing. No, but she is. Until you said, no, actually, I'm not. So since we didn't talk about your nationality, that's fine. I thought that was interesting that you were not exactly Nigerian. I'm like, what? Anyway. So Dr. Judith-Tinuke Ojo-Aromokudun. Thank
Yes.
you. Thank you for sharing the different parts of your life with us. Thank you
Yeah.
for your love. And so many people have said thank you again. It was lovely. People are sending love to you. People are very very grateful. And guys, we are on our way out. Auntie, last word to my generation. The last word to us. What would you say?
Hey, go and read the book of Proverbs.
Again? The last guy said so too.
Oh, really?
Yes, last week. ID
Yeah.
said so. ID and I said so.
I
So
think the
say
book
that
of
again,
Proverbs
Auntie.
is loaded, and it's in such simple English that every youth this day should be reading the book of Proverbs.
Guys,
Yeah.
and that's it. And that's it from us tonight on this episode. I think this has been so insightful, guys, right? Please share, love, like us on Facebook, on YouTube, subscribe, click on the notification bell, let people know that we do this. I think this particular episode has been so loaded and so insightful. I really want to thank you, Dr. Judith-Tinuke Ojo-Aromokudun, for being such a fabulous, super guest tonight. On that note, everybody, Auntie, you want to say good night to everybody, goodbye, and
I love you. Thank you. Stay blessed. Stay safe. Yeah. It was really a opportunity, a real privilege to be here with you all. I love you.
Oh, I love you too so much, Auntie. God bless you. Thank you very, very much. So, guys, that's it from Wise Words on Parenting episode 4 with Dr. Tinuke Judith Ojo-Aromokudun. I think that was really excellent. Please go out and share this. I think this is something that every working parent, every home executive, dad or mom can learn a lot from. Thank you for joining me tonight. And I'll see you again very, very, very soon. Have fun. Be good. Love your family. Be intentional. Remember that everything is a season. Nothing, absolutely nothing lasts forever. All right. Enjoy. Have a good evening. Share and do. Good night. Bye. Good night.